Stop me if you've heard this before. Turnovers decided the game between the Boston Celtics and the Golden State Warriors, and the same old thing cost the Celtics here. I'll tell you the one thing Boston needs to do to take control of this series right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Thank you for making this show part of your daily routine and your first listen every day. This show is free. It's available everywhere. Podcasts exist, and you can watch the show on YouTube if you so choose. If you do watch the show on YouTube, you'll see me here on the floor at the Chase Center with the logo behind me and one of the hoops over my right shoulder collapsed down to the ground, just like the Celtics collapsed in this game 2 against the Golden State Warriors. This show is now 7 days a week. So no more Monday through Friday, 7 days a week through the NBA Finals and hopefully a championship parade for the Boston Celtics. So make sure you're subscribed. I'm John Karalis. I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars, and I was one of the media voters for the Celtics 75th anniversary team. Celtics lose this one big, 107-88. To the Warriors, 88 points, not going to cut it, not even close. The Celtics went through a lot of the same old problems, and it's kind of frustrating because we sat here on Saturday and I was in interview rooms and people asked, hey, third quarter, that's going to be a problem. And the Celtics were like, yeah, we know. Yeah, it's going to be a problem, and we need to be more aware. Jayson Tatum said we need to be more aware. All of them, we got it. We understand. We have to be better. And then the third quarter comes around and they're not better. And they 5 turnovers, 11 points off the turnovers in the third quarter. Overall, the Celtics turned the ball over 18 times for 33 points off of those turnovers. 33 points off of turnovers. 29 of those were in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter didn't matter. Fourth quarter stats, throw them out because it's basically all garbage time. The Celtics were only down 2 at halftime and down 6. This is the thing. They were down 6 with 4 and change to go. 6-point game. They somehow were. Tatum was making shots. I got to give him credit. He was making shots, but all of a sudden it was just a barrage of 3-pointers. It was just shot after shot after shot. And I'm actually standing about 2 feet away from where Jordan Poole hit that shot. In fact, can I step back onto the floor? I don't have the reach to step that far back onto the floor, but it's like right there. If you're watching me on YouTube, right there is where Jordan Poole pulled up from to hit a 39-foot 3-pointer to cap the first half. The third quarter of that game. And once Poole got that ball, the ball gets inbounded. It's like 4 seconds left. And I'm thinking to myself, this ball's going in. I know this ball's going in. Somehow, some way, that ball is going to go through the hoop. I didn't expect it to be a 39-footer, but just the way the Celtics were playing over the last 4 minutes, I just knew it felt like, okay, so this is the gut punch. Because the Warriors were going to, on their roll, somehow that was going to get up to a 3-point shooter and it was going to go in. And then Poole pulls up from 39 feet and that thing was pure, man. That thing just right through. So that's the kind of night it was for the Celtics. But all of this could have been avoided by not turning the ball over. I don't know how many times you're probably sick of this. You probably think this is a repeat or something. The Celtics turning the ball over. Well, how many times did we do this in Miami? It was 3. They lost 3 times in Miami. So I probably did the same exact spiel 3 times against them, I did it against, they lost 3 times against Milwaukee. So that's 6. This is my probably 7th podcast of the playoffs. They didn't lose against Brooklyn, but I probably at some point said in that Brooklyn series, hey, probably should take care of the ball. This isn't going to be quite as easy. I'm sure I said that then at that point, but I'm pretty confident in saying in the running theme of all 7 of these podcasts, this is my 7th post-loss podcast of the playoffs, that in all of them, I sat here and lamented the turnovers, the live ball turnovers, the turnovers that led to points, and the same turnovers. And not only it's the same guys. It's Tatum, it's Brown, and it's Marcus Smart. And those 3 guys, but Tatum and Brown especially, and they kind of take turns. This one was a Jayson Tatum game, 4 turnovers. Brown had 2. And you know what? I don't even want to lump him in because I even think like he did have 2 turnovers. The second turnover was a legit one, but that was Robert Williams putting him in a spot. He ran a dribble handoff with Jaylen on the sideline. Like he just ran to Jaylen Brown, who basically had his heels on the sideline practically. And he just handed him the ball, bumped into him, and then ran off to the corner. And 2 Warriors rightfully just double teamed him and swallowed him up. He had no room to take a step. He had no room to get momentum. None of that stuff. That's the kind of like bad basketball that the Celtics played. So I don't want to absolve anybody. Like when I did my Boston Sports Journal game story, and I one of the things that we do is like this many players up and this many players down. And I 0 up. No one had a good game. Jaylen had a good start, but he didn't have a good game. Derek White had a good start, but he did not have a good game. Everyone else, Tatum hit shots. He hit shots, and he hit some big ones, but he didn't play particularly well. The Celtics continue to turn the ball over, and the killer, and I said this when they played Miami, the killer is when you turn the ball over, live ball turnovers against the Warriors. You don't get 11-0 runs. You get 18-0 runs. And I'll call this up because I don't even know what the exact number was, but actually I think I do. It was 19-4, I think, with the Celtics down just 6. Celtics down just 6. The Warriors ripped off a major run, 19-2 over the last 417. So that's the difference between the Miami Heat, who in the last 4 minutes of Game 7 went on an 11-0 run. And I remember saying that, and somebody can go back on that podcast and look. Instead of an 11-0 run, that's an 18-0 run against the Golden State Warriors. And here it is. It's a 19-2. Basically the same thing. Over 417. Same amount of time. But you mess around against these Warriors, and all of a sudden it's running away with it and hiding and just 3-point barrage. Can't turn the ball over. Can't do what the Celtics did here. And what caused those turnovers? What makes those turnovers happen? It's getting too deep, over penetrating, over dribbling, getting caught, hunting for fouls. That's a big one. In fact, up next, I will talk about Jayson Tatum hunting for fouls and how that needs to stop. But it is the lack of ball movement. It's the lack of attacking. It's the getting caught and not having a way out, putting yourself in a position where you're trying to do too much. Again, how many times have I said this? Trying to do too much. Here's Jaylen. Here's Jayson. Here's Marcus. I'm here. I can get by this guy, and here comes the help, and it's like, okay, now what? And then you jump and you look around and you say, oh, well, I got nowhere to go. And it's on the other guys as well to make sure that when you see somebody driving, you got to give that person an outlet. Like they got to be better, more aware of each other. And I know they're tired and all of that stuff. It's the finals. It's been a long road, but the players got to be better about getting themselves into position where they're not going to be in trouble. They can get themselves out. And the other guys on the floor have to give these guys outlets. When you see somebody driving down the middle, how about a cutter? How about rotating behind the guy and replacing and giving him a place to pass the ball? Something, please, something. The thing about these guys is when you turn the ball over, when they turn it over, it's either a low turnover, like 5-6 turnover game, or it's you're giving up 33 points off turnovers. There's no middle ground. There's no like 10 turnover, 12 points off of turnovers. You're like, that's about average. There's no middle ground there. The Celtics are either super great about protecting the ball or they are the worst in the world at it. I asked Al Horford about it after the game. And before I even got that, I said something like, Al, when the turnovers start happening, they start cascading. And he goes, yeah. Like before he could even ask the question, he's like, yeah, they do. And he knows it. Everybody knows it, but they can't stop it. They need to stop it. Up next, one way to stop it. It's Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown too, but it's Jayson Tatum going on the attack. We're going to talk about that. First, let's talk about BetOnline, your number one source for all your betting, stats, and sports info. I haven't even checked what the latest odds are, but I'm going to go. You can see how quickly it is, how easy it is for me to go onto BetOnline and see that the Celtics are opening up as 3.5-point favorites in Game 3. They were underdogs in Game 1, underdogs in Game 2. So people won money in Game 1, lost money. Or actually, if you bet on the Warriors, you won money. But the Celtics are favored now in Game 3. So head on over to BetOnline if you're interested in that. 3.5-point favorites. Go check it out. You also have, in addition to the NBA Finals, you have the hockey NHL Conference Finals. You've got Major League Baseball going on right now. Tons of fights, MMA, UFC, boxing. It's all there. BetOnline, your continued source for your sports wagering information, live betting, esports. You can bet on esports and more. Head on over to the website today. Use your mobile device if you'd like to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline is where the game starts. Please gamble responsibly. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day, and I would love to have a little chat with you about why you make it the first listen every day. We do have an important favor to ask you. We've put together a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you, watchers like you, and make your favorite. What makes your favorite Locked On podcast what it is, how to make it even better. This is an opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. So head on over to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey right now to get started. Doesn't take very long. And everyone that completes the survey qualifies for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. We've got 10 gift cards for $100 at Ticketmaster. If you complete the survey, it does not take long. To take the audience survey, go to lockedonpodcasts.com/survey. Really do appreciate you helping out in this manner. All right, Celtics losing Game 2. And I think the answer is it's kind of simple, actually. One of the reasons why the Celtics turn the ball over a bunch is, and Ime said it afterwards, we're not strong enough with the ball. We are looking for fouls and not looking to score. And that is something that I think is a holdover from Miami and Milwaukee, that the Celtics went and spent a month plus against two of the toughest rim protecting defenses in the league. Okay. Milwaukee does not allow you to get to the rim. Miami, a little bit more, but not quite. It's very difficult to get to the rim against the Miami Heat. Now you're facing the Golden State Warriors. You should be able to get to the rim against the Warriors. This is not going to be difficult against the Warriors, or not as difficult. I mean, they are a good defense, but it's not the same kind of defense. So get out there and attack. The Celtics, they've played 2 games. You got 2 games worth of film. The takeaway for Tatum, who played better, but I thought he was better in game 1, honestly. The takeaway for Tatum should be, you know what? I'm bigger than these dudes. I'm bigger. I'm just going to attack and go. Just go to straight line, north to south. Don't get that big swooping arm thing, the James Harden, I'm going to drive. I'm going to put my arms up this way and try to draw the foul. And then after I draw the foul, then I'm going to see if I can flip it in there and get a 3-point play. But at the very least, I'm going to the line. They're not giving you those fouls. They haven't been giving you those fouls. Go out there and just drive, just attack, straight line, go through people. You're Jayson freaking Tatum. Go out there and show people, take this series. I think, and I don't want to make this like a Kobe thing, but like I just think the dichotomy is interesting. That, you know, he's obviously Kobe is his hero, and like he's watched Kobe and patterned his game after Kobe, and that's all great. But this dude isn't like, that's not your game. This is not you should be watching Giannis Antetokounmpo film, because that's how he should be playing in these finals. If I want him to mirror anybody's game, or just have that level of that or a certain person's mentality, I want him to have Giannis Antetokounmpo's mentality. Just get the ball, find out, okay, here's a place for me to go. I'm going to go hit this like a running back. Like, I'm going to hit this hole as hard as I can, and I'm going to drive, and you have to stop me. You have to get in my way. And if you get in my way, I'm bouncing off of you. Whatever. Don't be afraid to commit a charging foul. Just go. And that changes a lot, because you're not getting those foul calls on those attempted grifts, and those lead to turnovers. And then that leads to frustration. And then that leads to a bad play. And that leads to other players getting frustrated. There's just this cascading frustration that the Celtics can't afford to have. Go out there. If you attack, if they don't call the foul, they don't call the foul. Just put that snarl on your face, attack the basket. If they call a foul, great. If they don't, just get back there, get the ball back, and do it again. These Warriors are not, they're a decent defense. You're not going to be in the NBA Finals without being a good defense, but they don't have the rim protection. They don't have it. So exploit that. I want these guys to get out of this mindset of, you know, oh, well, it's so hard to get to the rim. And I get it. You've been doing it for 4 or 5 weeks now, but that has to change. It has to change. I think 2 games of feeling this series out is enough. And the Celtics haven't played well over the course of these 2 games. They played well enough. And this is the thing. I made this mistake, and I hope these guys aren't making this mistake right now, but I joked, I wrote it on Boston Sports Journal. If I was actually playing for the Celtics, Ime would have pulled me into his office and yelled at me, because I certainly gave the Warriors too much respect. Now, I'm a writer and a podcaster, so I have to be able to like do that. But I also understand that I look at these Warriors, and I'm looking at the signage up here, and I'm looking at the faces, and it's Steph, and it's Clay, and it's Draymond, and they're still those guys, but also they're not what they used to be. I look at 2 games of these NBA Finals, and I think, you know what? I think I might have given them a little too much respect, because what this team is very good, obviously very, very good, and a worthy NBA finalist. And if they win, a worthy champion. But this isn't the 73 win Warriors. This isn't the best version of the Warriors. I think it might probably be, of all of the Warriors teams that made to the NBA Finals, this might be the worst of them, which is, I say that, and I know how it sounds. It's still a really good team, but I think there are so many better versions of the Warriors. And so the Celtics should feel like, hey, you know what? We got this. Any feeling of doubt, any feeling of, I'm not sure, no. After 2 games here in San Francisco, the Celtics came away with that fourth quarter win, which was great. The fourth quarter was amazing in game 1. They had in game 2, this, again, with 4:17 to go, it was a 6-point game. They had within their grasp, even after the third quarter, if things changed a little bit, if they played differently, if somehow they changed and were able to make their run instead of the Warriors making a run, then we could have gone into a fourth quarter tied. Now, obviously, the way they played, I'm not even going to pretend that was even possible. But with 4:17 left and a 6-point lead or 6-point deficit, that was within the Celtics' grasp. Then 4 minutes and 17 seconds later, it was just all gone and game was over. And that's how quick things happen with the Celtics, with the Warriors. But they still, you want to be positive about it. They still, in that third quarter, withstood everything and had it down to 6 with 4:17 to go. Game 3 is going to be a really interesting one. Really interesting one. I'll talk about some other stuff from the game, individual performances, some defensive things that the Warriors did to kind of take Al Horford and those guys out and what might be done to combat that. We'll do that when I come back here from the Chase Center in San Francisco. They did some Jumbotron thing here during the game. Which chowder is better, Boston chowder or San Francisco chowder? And New England clam chowder or San Francisco chowder? I will say this. I've never even heard of San Francisco chowder. And obviously they all voted San Francisco chowder, and they like it here. I don't know. It's like St. Louis pizza with Jayson. I didn't even know St. Louis pizza was a thing. It's a cracker with some sauce on it, apparently. But the fact that they're out here pretending that San Francisco has better, what is this? You don't see cans of San Francisco chowder in the supermarket. It's all New England clam chowder. Every restaurant has New England clam chowder on the menu. I've never, ever been to a place. I've been out to eat in San Francisco, and I've never seen San Francisco clam chowder on the menu. What? San Francisco is overrated, man. Overrated city. Just wanted to say that here to start the third segment. Celtics, I think overall just didn't play particularly great in this game. Just run down the old box score. I think Jaylen Brown started out great. First of all, I thought that this game was going to be I thought it was going to be the opposite. I thought the Warriors are going to come out strong and hit the Celtics first. Boom, big haymaker right away. And they didn't. Boston hit first. And I was like, wow, this is great. And then they started to turn the ball over, and they had a 9-point first quarter lead. I want to say a big turning point was some of those early turnovers in the first quarter where the Celtics, they could have had a double-digit lead early in this game. Talk about clutch baskets. The Warriors make clutch baskets in the first quarter to kind of get this thing down and be up 1 after a quarter. It was almost the exact opposite of game 1. That's a turning point in the game there. Early in the first quarter, where the Celtics are up 9 and threatening, and then they miss some shots, turn the ball over a couple times. Warriors get on and run, put up some points, and all of a sudden things change. But Jaylen was really, really good in that first quarter, but then he was 1 of 11 after that. I just, 4 of 6 in the first quarter for 13 points, 0 turnovers, 1 for 11 the rest of the way, 4 points, 2 turnovers. That that's, that Jaylen can't disappear after that. And he got into it with Draymond Green. I guess I should talk about Draymond Green here. And I know people are going to want to talk about the officiating. I'm not talking about that now. I'm just not. Except for Draymond certainly got away with a couple of things. I really don't know the foul on Grant Williams, where he just kind of ran over Grant Williams. Inconsequential play, really. It was a foul on Grant, but I don't understand what Grant was supposed to do on that play. I don't know. There are plays throughout the course. There was that technical foul that they called on Jordan Poole. That was a kind of a weird play too, where Poole is called for a technical foul because it looked like he pushed Derek White. And so the Celtics had the ball. They were in transition. They were running the other way. They call a technical foul and they stop the play. And Boston had a break. And then they review the play for a hostile act and they say, oh, wait, not only is it not a hostile act, we're taking away the technical foul. There's no technical foul. He didn't do anything wrong. So they stopped the fast break for a technical foul that they shouldn't have even given. That was a weird thing. That one's something that the Celtics should be upset about. The Draymond stuff, he was an irritant. From the Golden State perspective, I guarantee you on Locked On Warriors, they're going to be talking about how Draymond was exactly what he was supposed to be. Great game from Draymond. He was an irritant. He was up in their faces. He got them to get out of their game plan. He got them to change, he got in their heads and all of that. And there's a fair amount of truth to that. When Jaylen Brown came into the media room after the game and he was clearly pissed off. Obviously, they just lost the game. They lost the game in the finals, so everybody should be pissed off. But Jaylen was certainly pissed off. He was pissed off about the officiating. He talked about phantom calls. He talked about, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. He didn't do it in a way where he would be fined, I don't think. But he certainly was upset about how things went. He was certainly upset about not getting certain calls or having calls go against him. And I think he was irked by Draymond and the fact that Draymond probably didn't get either a foul or a tech or something like that he might have deserved. But Draymond, hey, look, this is what he does. This is who he is. And if he is allowed to get away with it, then you gotta figure it out, because it's gonna be a bad night for you. And this is, I think, what happened to Jaylen. That 1 of 11 after the first start, the hot start, 4 of 6, 1 of 11 after that. I do think the Draymond stuff kind of got into it, and he got foul trouble and all of that. That's costly for Jaylen. And so, but when that's the case, you have to be bigger. Al Horford after the game was asked about, hey, what impact did Draymond have with all those antics? And he was like, no impact. It had nothing. And which was funny. He just kind of dismissed it. He made a funny face and he's like, I don't know. Didn't really, who cares? But this is what he's going to do. Now, if he gets a technical foul, another technical foul, or a personal foul, and he has to sit or anything like that, then that changes the dynamic a little bit. And while that might help some of what the Warriors are going to do on the floor, it takes away that irritant. And he was an irritant in this game. And I think he bothered Jaylen Brown. He got switched onto Jaylen Brown. Klay Thompson switches onto Al Horford. Horford doesn't even get a shot from 3 after having a big monster first game 1. He 1 of 4, 2 points, 2 turnovers, 2 fouls, just 1 assist, no 3-point attempts, no nothing, no trips to the line, nothing. Had a couple of offensive rebounds, which was nice. But Horford, the couple of bad turnovers too, completely negated in this game. Completely. The Celtics have to figure out a way to make sure that he's not this negated, moving forward. Whether it's using him a little differently, whether it's finding out, maybe it's setting picks for him somehow, getting him freed up for certain shots. Whatever it is, he does need to get going because they're going to need somebody else to score. Tatum had 28, Jaylen had 17, Derek White had 12. That's it. So, they're going to have to figure out a way to combat that Klay Thompson assignment on Al Horford. Robert Williams, 14 minutes. He didn't do a whole lot. He had a couple of block shots, came down hard on his knee. That didn't look. He struggled to get up. That didn't look great. Marcus Smart had a bad game. Just a bad game overall. 2 points. Couldn't hit a shot. 1 of 6. 5 assists, but 5 turnovers. So that completely negated that. So tough game for Marcus Smart. Grant Williams, again, didn't do a whole lot. He had a couple of shots, but that's it. Derek White started great. Had a big second quarter, but then 4 of 13 overall for him. No one was a positive in the regulars who got minutes. The only, as far as plus minus, Tatum, minus 36. He was on the floor for the worst of it. Again, he did start to hit shots, right? He's 6 of 9 from 3. So that's a plus, but I thought he played better. I thought he played better in game 1. Here he has 28 points and shot 6 of 9 from 3, but I don't like I said in the last segment, I don't like the foul hunting. I don't like, I liked his game overall better in game 1. So look, the Celtics on a positive side, they did come here and they did earn the split. But the way they lost this game, because it was all the turnovers and, the offense, you're not getting into the paint as much and not spraying the ball and not getting good shots. That leaves a sour taste in your mouth. And, okay, I'm not even so upset that they lost necessarily. Like, fine, you're going to lose a game in the finals. I said at the beginning, this is probably going to be a classic NBA finals. Not quite just yet, but this so far, I mean, each team, Boston wins 1, Golden State wins 1. Now let's see what happens when they go back to Boston. But I mean, the Celtics have certainly had their opportunities to be better. And if they clean these things up, then they can win this series. Attack. You can attack these guys. Go do it. And I guess the question is whether they actually will, because we've been saying this for a long time, and I don't know whether they actually will do it or not. You're going to have to figure something else out. We'll break it down some more. Tomorrow's a travel day. Monday is a travel day, and I will be traveling as well, coming back to Boston from California. So I'll have a podcast for you when I get back. Come back, watch some film on the plane, and break some stuff down for you tomorrow. 7 days a week. This podcast goes 7 days a week now. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. You can watch a show on YouTube. And if you are a subscriber, look on YouTube, up over 60, halfway to what normally would be the goal, right? It's two games, 67.50. I want to get to 7,500 now. Normally it's been 500 per series, but I already got the 250. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it popping. Let's get to that 7,500. And if you could, share the podcast, tell your friends, tell your family, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.